It's almost springtime, and in the homeschool world, that means starting to plan for next year. And I know, at least for me and a lot of you, it is really exciting to start envisioning and planning what's going to be happening next year. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm a mom to 4. I love to homeschool, I love to read good books, and I love to share both of those things on this channel. And so if you also like those things, please consider subscribing. So this is the kickoff video for a series of videos I'm planning on this channel to talk about preparing for next year. So I'm going to put up a graphic of all of the videos I am planning for this series. So you'll see it right here. And as you can see, the second one is extra exciting. It's going to be a collab video with 6 other wonderful YouTube mamas, and they are all going to share kind of their unique approaches to how they handle the budget within their homeschool. So you really don't want to miss that. So please subscribe, hit the bell notification, all those things. So you make sure that you tune in to hear from all of these wonderful ladies. I am really excited to hear from them all. I think this is just such a really cool topic that isn't talked about a ton in the homeschool world, but I think we could all benefit from. As for today's video, I want to talk about big picture planning, kind of like how do I look back to look forward, if you will. Like how do I learn from this past year, and then how do I look at kind of that empty canvas of the next year and figure out how I'm going to fill it. And after I chat a bit about that, I want to also flip the camera around and just show you how I plan, how I do my yearly planning. So it will be a bit of a plan with me video, as well as discussing how to even approach the next year. So step 1, for me at least, is to spend a decent amount of time just thinking about and assessing this past year, or the current year that we're still in, and like what has worked, what are the big wins, because I think you can keep that stuff in your rotation. You can be like, okay, this is our go-to, we know we can do this next year and it won't be a big on-ramp. So those are always good to keep a good list of. But I think it's equally important to think about what didn't work, and then really think, why didn't it work? Why did that thing get dropped? Or why did we never end up doing those things that I initially planned? And I think a lot of times it could be things like curriculum fit. Maybe, for instance, math curriculum worked really well for my first child, but isn't working at all for my second child. And it took me a long time to just be like, oh, they're different people and things like that. So maybe it's a curriculum fit. I mean, it could also be just the age of your kids. And I think this one's really hard. I don't know if anybody else struggles with this, is it's the idea of like, what are proper expectations for a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old? How much should we be doing? Where are like kind of those guidelines, or their guardrails, if you will, as to how to make those decisions for age appropriateness. Also, I think it's good to think a bit about unrealistic expectations. So I do this a lot, is I just have these big ideals, this idea of how I want my homeschool to look, and I forget to take into account the age of my kids, or the fact that I have twin toddlers, which are just challenging. And then for me, it's like having patience to be like, okay, I can wait on that idea. I think it's a beautiful, wonderful, I love so-and-so who's implementing that, but for right now, I can't do that. And I think spending some time thinking through what didn't work can give you a much better chance at landing in a really good spot next year. And so the second thing I tend to do is I tend to spend some time reminding myself of why I'm homeschooling. I know most of us have kind of considered this, even maybe hopefully wrote it down somewhere, as to what are the big things that are driving this decision. I mean, why did I decide to keep my kids home from public school and educate them myself? What were the things that were driving me? So that could be like, I really want to challenge my kids academically. That could be things like they're not thriving, or they're being bullied at school. That could be things like, I really desire family togetherness and just that culture of togetherness, or I really want to have the flexibility or the ability to like unschool or do lots of nature schooling, or man, the list can be so many different things, and it's all very unique to each of us. And I think remembering that and owning that, and then being able to make our decisions from that foundation, can make such a big difference. And so both of these things, so like assessing the current year as well as remembering and considering the why you're homeschooling, can make a huge difference into things like what curriculum you're going to pick, as well as how much money you're going to spend on certain things, because you now have reset yourself on your foundation of why you decided to homeschool. But I will get more into curriculum choices and budgeting in the next couple videos, so again, please stay tuned for those. I will definitely deep dive into that, but it comes out of this initial big picture planning. So now that I have a framework for my plan going into the next year, I just print out a calendar, which I can link below, but it's a free calendar printable where it's a split year for the school year so that I can work from July until June. This is helpful. It's a school calendar, but it's not like a start in August calendar because I tend to start in July. So what I do is I print this off and then I just start working on it. So I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm just going to show you what I do, how I fill this out, my thought patterns behind how I make these decisions and where I set my breaks and things like that. So let me do that. And when I'm doing this first round of yearly planning, I keep it really simple. I don't use highlighters, I don't use anything, I just kind of make a lot of notes with my pen. But the first thing I tend to do is I tend to look at vacation weeks. In a previous video, I shared that I use a Sabbath school schedule, so a 6 weeks on, 1 week off. So I start with assessing Christmas week. And so for instance, this will be a break week, because that's Christmas, break week, because that's New Year's, all the way through there. And odds are we're gonna start here, but I'm not sure. So I'll just put a break week. And then for me, I always tend to do about a 3-week Christmas term. This is where we drop our history program. So like I talked about recently is we're combining Build Your Library and Torchlight. So that is my literature-based program that has a lot of the art study, all of the history, science, things like that. I'll be dropping that and we'll probably just end up doing math and phonics during this week as well as some special Christmas stuff. And I just find that it's a wonderful time to just step back and enjoy each other, enjoy the season, enjoy any Bible curriculum that we have and things like that. And so I also have typically the break week of Thanksgiving. Sometimes I'll end up doing these days, but it just really depends on what we have going on and how much maybe we've been sick in this October, September, November timeframe. But otherwise I'll plan a break week, 3 weeks off, and then 2 break weeks there. And now I want to set up my 6 and 1 rotation. And so that means this will be week 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this will be a break week. And then this will be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this will be a break week. And now we're getting into August, which is always interesting because then the question is, how many weeks do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could either start at the very beginning of July and do a full 6 weeks, or I could do, which I think this is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to do a 3 weeks here. So do 3, 2, 1. So this be my first week, and that kind of balances out this 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3 week. And so then it's another chunk of 6, if that makes sense. So when I combine them, because in the end, I'm aiming for about 36 weeks. And in my state, it's 172 days. And I don't get too worked up about the number of days until we get more into the March timeframe when we're getting close to the end, because so much can happen over the course of the year. It could be a lot of sickness, it could be a needed break or vacation or unexpected things that I'm not gonna set my end date at this point. But I think I will plan to set my start date as the 27th and do 3 weeks and the break, 6 weeks break, 6 weeks break, 3 weeks, and then 2 breaks. But what I did forget to do is my husband and I are celebrating 10 years this year, and so we're going to be doing an anniversary trip. We're aiming for sometime September, October. I'm not quite sure when, but what I need to do is actually put that break week in. So I'll probably put it here, and it could float anywhere, but what I'll do is I'll put it there, and that will give us kind of some time and some wiggle room. And then I'm going to move these all. See, I probably should have done this in pencil, but I'm going to move that. So that's that break week, the same one. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and have the break week here, and have this be 3, 2, 1, and have the start date be the 20th. And that keeps us at that 18 weeks, and that gives us that space for our anniversary week trip, whenever that's going to end up being, but it's definitely going to be in the fall. So I'm glad I remembered that, because that'll help me start things a week earlier to kind of make room for that trip. And so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line out loosely the second part, because it's a time that's just a lot harder to predict. But I'm just going to put it out. Let me make sure I'm not screwing that up. I did screw that up. See, this is talking and writing at the same time is hard. So this is week 5. So this is week 6. And this is break 1, 2, 3. All right, back on track. 6, break. Now, odds are with our enrichment school, they do a spring break week. And so this break is near March, and it tends to always be in March. So odds are I'm just going to have to kind of shift some stuff around here once I get the calendar for the enrichment school, which I don't have yet. But I will at some point. And then 5, 6. So that puts us at ending mid-May. Odds are that's probably not going to happen. We'll end up taking breaks when we need to or when we're sick, because this year we started at a very similar time and we're going to be ending closer to the first or second week in June. But that's okay. We moved. There was COVID, all the things. And so tentatively it'll be a mid-May end date, but that's not going to be perfect. And then what I'm going to do once I get my enrichment calendar is I'm going to make notes of what days the kids have off, either if it's like a teacher in-service day or if it's the spring break or important dates for that, I will add to my big calendar here. And then when I reprint this off, I will highlight our break weeks to make sure that I remember where they are. And I'll even put them in my calendar because sometimes I'm actually not very good at remembering to plan them in, or they'll catch me off guard and I won't utilize them as well as I could. And so really for my yearly planning, it has a lot more to do with breaking, just because that is how I've learned that my school runs really well when we do a 6 weeks on, 1 week off. So I hope that helps. Oh no, oh my gosh, I just realized I just did this whole thing for 2020, 2021. Oh my gosh, I needed the 2021, 2022 school year calendar. Oh well, I'm not going to redo it, but the plan would be the same. So you saw how I did this, even if it wasn't done very well. That's what I'm going to do when I track down the right calendar. I was also going to say, once I finish this up, I tend to then start planning this section of time, because this is such an important time, because you figure out how much space you have between when you finish this year and when you start next year. And that gives me kind of time to organize my to-do list of kind of how do I need to set everything up and starting to prep the schoolroom. So that is what I have to start out this series of videos talking about prepping myself for the upcoming homeschool year. Please consider liking the video if it helped you out and subscribing to the channel so that you can make sure to catch all the upcoming videos, including the collab. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Like I said, budgeting is coming up, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Okay.